Welcome to the Depth Dive. Today we're going to be looking at Norm Brodsky's Street Smarts, really kind of digging into what it really takes to build a business that not only survives, but thrives.
Yeah, Norm's journey as an entrepreneur, I mean, it's really fascinating, starting with a messenger service, going to record storage, even a document destruction company. I mean, he really gives you a kind of a no-nonsense view of what it takes to actually make it in the business world.
And what's really interesting about this for our listeners, I think, are those aha moments, those practical lessons that he learned through building all those different businesses.
Exactly. So we'll be covering everything from how to spot opportunities that are actually viable, how to manage your cash flow effectively, to even some of those more kind of controversial principles like his rule about never doing business with friends.
Oh, yeah. That one always sparks some debate.
Mhm.
So let's jump right in. Norm really stresses the importance of gross margin, even more so than just focusing on sales, especially in the startup phase. Why is that such a crucial concept?
He uses this really simple but powerful example.
Hmm.
Imagine you're selling something for $1 and it costs you 90 cents to produce it. So you have a 10-cent gross profit, a 10% margin.
Seems small, right?
It does, but that tiny margin can really make or break you, especially when you're just starting out.
And it's not just about that 10 cents either, right?
Right. You have to factor in all the other expenses that come with running a business, like your overhead, salaries, marketing, all of that.
Yeah. And then there's this kind of hidden cost that a lot of entrepreneurs don't really think about, and that's time.
Exactly. Norm points out that it often takes weeks, sometimes even months, to actually collect payments from your clients. And all the while, you're still paying your expenses.
So that seemingly small 10-cent profit, per item, it can evaporate pretty quickly if you're not managing your cash flow very carefully.
Precisely. And that's Norm's point, is that a higher gross margin means you don't need to sell as much to actually cover your expenses.
Yeah.
And that gives a startup something incredibly valuable. And that's time to experiment, time to adjust to the market, and time to reach what he calls critical mass.
Okay, let's unpack that term a little bit. What exactly does critical mass mean in this context?
Well, think of it as that tipping point, right, where your business can finally support itself. You're generating enough cash flow from your core operations that you're no longer reliant on outside funding to stay afloat. That's critical mass, and it's a huge milestone for any company.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So a higher gross margin essentially buys you more time to reach that self-sustaining point. I can see why that would be so crucial in those early stages. Now, this kind of ties into another really interesting idea from the book, and that's how to navigate your competitors and what Norm calls frenemies.
Yeah. He makes this really important distinction between your true competitors, those offering similar services at a similar price and level of reliability, and everyone else in your industry. And he actually suggests treating those true competitors with respect, even though you're, vying for the same clients.
That's interesting. Why would you show respect to your rivals?
Well, because, as Norm puts it, they have a significant influence on your reputation within the industry. Their opinions, especially if they're positive, carry a lot of weight with potential customers. It's almost like word-of-mouth marketing, but coming from an unexpected source.
So it's about recognizing that even within a competitive landscape, there's this shared ecosystem at play.
Exactly.
Interesting. Now, this is where his no friends in business rule comes into play. I'm curious to hear your take on this one.
Well, it's certainly a controversial stance, but it really highlights the importance of being able to make objective business decisions even when personal feelings are involved. And I think that can be a real struggle for entrepreneurs, especially those who are just starting out.
Absolutely. He shares some pretty compelling stories about times when mixing business with friendship actually backfired, both with vendors and employees.
Right. And he even admits to struggling with this rule himself. In the beginning. He initially couldn't understand why he shouldn't buy from or work with friends. He thought he was helping them out.
Yeah.
But what he learned, sometimes the hard way, is that friends often have these kind of unspoken expectations, right, and assumptions that can really clash with the needs of the business.
And when those expectations aren't met, it can damage not just the business relationship, but also the personal friendship as well. It's a tough situation to be in. And Norm even argues that you can't truly be friends with your employees, no matter how much respect and affection you may have for them. The power dynamic inherent in that employer-employee relationship just inevitably creates complications.
It's a hard lesson to learn, but one that many entrepreneurs have experienced. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Norm introduces this concept of critical mass as kind of a key milestone in a business's journey. We touched on it briefly, but I'd love to dive a little deeper. What makes reaching critical mass so significant?
Well, it marks a point where your business is truly self-sustaining. You're generating enough cash flow from your core operations that you no longer need that external capital to survive. And Norm uses Bobby and Helene Stone's cleaning supply business as a great example. They achieved critical mass by cultivating a loyal customer base that provided consistent recurring revenue.
So it's about building a business model that can actually fuel its own growth without constantly needing outside investment. Precisely. And reaching critical mass often requires entrepreneurs to kind of recognize how their business model needs to evolve over time.
Yeah.
For the Stones, it meant transitioning from those one-off sales to building those recurring revenue streams.
That makes a lot of sense. And it seems like this leads us to another kind of cautionary note from Norm, the dangers of a purely sales-focused mentality.
Right.
He emphasizes that while sales are obviously crucial, fixating on them can lead to neglecting other vital aspects of the business, like you guessed it, gross margin.
He argues that even a string of, quote unquote, bad months, sales-wise, can be valuable if they reveal underlying issues with your business model or highlight areas where you need to improve.
It's about taking a holistic view of your business, not just chasing those short-term wins at the expense of long-term health and sustainability.
Absolutely.
That's a powerful message. Now, speaking of long-term vision, Norm also provides a fascinating kind of insider's perspective on raising capital and what investors are really looking for when they're evaluating business plans.
Yeah. He tells this great story about a couple, Jordan and Seth, seeking funding for their cookie business. They had this beautifully crafted plan with really impressive sales projections. But Norm instantly spotted 3 major flaws that would send any savvy investor running for the hills.
And those flaws really highlight some common misconceptions that entrepreneurs have about what investors actually prioritize. So what were those deal breakers?
Well, the first was a lack of a clear exit strategy.
Yeah.
Investors need to know how they'll eventually recoup their investment and hopefully make a profit, right?
Yeah.
That could be through an acquisition, a public offering, or some other mechanism, but it has to be clearly defined.
Makes sense. Investors are looking for a return on their investment, not just a feel-good story. What was the second flaw?
Well, the couple planned to use a big chunk of the investment capital to buy fixed assets like fancy furniture and equipment. And Norm emphasizes that investors much prefer to see businesses leverage debt for those purchases. It allows for a greater return on their investment.
So it's not just about the idea itself. It's about understanding the financial mechanics of how to best utilize that investor capital.
Exactly.
Okay. What was the final red flag?
Their projections relied on overly optimistic assumptions, things like generous credit terms from suppliers and unrealistic payment collection times from customers. Investors want to see realistic projections based on industry benchmarks and actual experience, not wishful thinking.
It all comes back to doing your homework and really understanding the financial realities of the market that you're entering.
Absolutely. Investors are looking for entrepreneurs who have a clear-eyed understanding of the challenges that they'll face.
Now, beyond the numbers and financial metrics, Norm emphasizes the power of building a strong company culture. And he offers kind of a blueprint for doing that based on his own experience, transforming Cita Storage from a one-man show into a thriving team. What were the key ingredients to their success?
He highlights 3 crucial elements: finding the right manager to lead and inspire the team, creating a true meritocracy where performance is rewarded, and fostering a sense of community among employees.
Each of those seems to address a specific challenge that companies often face as they grow, right? Finding the right manager, it's about delegating effectively and trusting someone else to make key decisions. Creating a meritocracy ensures that, people are motivated and prevents resentment from building up if it feels like there's favoritism at play.
And fostering a sense of community helps with retention, creates a positive work environment, and even helps control costs as employees feel more invested in the company's success.
It's a powerful reminder that a strong company culture isn't about those superficial perks or trendy office spaces. It's about creating a foundation of shared values and a genuine sense of belonging.
I couldn't agree more.
And this ties into Norm's rather unconventional approach to sales, which focuses on building relationships and understanding customer needs rather than just pushing products. It seems to kind of go against the grain of that, aggressive, always be closing salesperson that we often see portrayed.
Yeah, he avoids hiring those, what he calls hotshot salespeople who prioritize closing deals at any cost. Instead, he focuses on building a sales team based on trust and collaboration.
So it's about recognizing that long-term success comes from building trust and providing, genuine value to your customers, not just trying to close a deal as quickly as possible.
Exactly. It's a much more sustainable and ethical way to build a business.
Now, speaking of learning from experience, Norm also underscores the importance of embracing mistakes as valuable opportunities for growth. He doesn't shy away from sharing his own, moments of failure and what he learned from them.
He tells this hilarious and slightly embarrassing story about his first courtroom experience as a young lawyer. He was woefully unprepared, which taught him a very valuable lesson about the importance of thorough preparation.
I think the judge, who was known for kind of putting novice lawyers in their place, publicly called him out for not knowing the details of the case that he was presenting.
Yeah, it was a humbling experience, but it instilled in him this lifelong habit of meticulous preparation. And that proved to be a huge asset when he transitioned into the business world.
He talks about how that habit of preparation helped him close deals and build trust with clients. By being incredibly thorough, he was able to, demonstrate a deep understanding of their needs and their businesses.
It's a great reminder that even the most successful entrepreneurs make mistakes. And it's not about avoiding them entirely, but rather learning from them and adapting your approach accordingly.
Now we get to revisit Bobby and Helene Stone a decade later. It's fascinating to see how their business has evolved and how they've applied Norm's principles to navigate new challenges.
We see the complexities of bringing their son, Stephen, into the business, the transition to online sales with the launch of their website, and the importance of constantly monitoring key metrics to identify potential problems early on.
And their journey really highlights the fact that building a successful business is an ongoing process of adaptation and learning. It requires a blend of financial discipline, strategic thinking, and that commitment to building a strong company culture that we talked about earlier.
Absolutely. Even with sound principles in place, there will be unexpected hurdles and market shifts that require flexibility and a willingness to experiment.
Before we jump into the Stone's later years, I want to pause here and just ask, what is standing out to you so far from Norm's insights? What resonates most with your own entrepreneurial journey?
What fascinates me is how Norm weaved together practical advice with a deep understanding of human psychology. He gets that it's not just about the numbers, it's about recognizing the emotional and relational aspects of business, both with your customers and your employees.
I'm struck by how he emphasizes building a business that aligns with your personal values and goals, not just chasing profits for the sake of profits.
Right.
It's about creating a life you enjoy, not just a successful business.
He reminds us that entrepreneurship is about more than just the bottom line.
Okay, let's continue our deep dive into street smarts. In part 2, we'll explore how Bobby and Helene navigated bringing family into the business, their transition to online sales, and how they dealt with an unexpected sales slump. We'll also dig deeper into Norm's insights on building a winning sales team and the crucial role of continuous learning in the ever-changing world of business.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Norm Brodsky's Street Smarts. Last time we left off with Bobby and Helene Stone kind of wrestling with this decision about whether or not to bring their son, Stephen, into their, they have this thriving cleaning supply business data link.
Yeah, it's a tough one, right? It's a classic entrepreneurial dilemma.
Yeah.
How to navigate the complexities of family working in the business, especially when it's growing and evolving.
Absolutely. And Norm, having been there and done that himself, he really stresses the importance of careful planning and setting clear expectations from the outset. It's tempting to be a little more lenient with family.
Right.
But he really cautions against letting personal feelings interfere with those objective business decisions.
So no special treatment just because someone's your son or daughter.
Exactly. He emphasizes the importance of treating family members just like any other employee with the same performance standards and accountability measures.
So in Stephen's case, figuring out his role in compensation was kind of the first hurdle. He was eager to join the sales team, but Norm actually advised Bobby and Helene to start him off with a salary, not commissions.
Yeah, that might seem a little counterintuitive at
Yeah,
first.
wouldn't commissions motivate him to sell more?
Well, it's a strategy that Norm uses to kind of shift the focus away from just chasing sales to truly understanding how the business makes money, and particularly, the all-important gross margin. He points out that new salespeople, especially those without a business background, can easily get caught up in the excitement of closing deals without fully grasping those, financial implications.
So they might prioritize volume over profitability.
Yes, it's a
Or
it's a common mistake.
that.
They might be bringing in a lot of revenue, but if the deals are low margin, the business might actually be losing money in the long run.
Interesting.
So Norm wanted Stephen to really understand that not all sales are created equal.
So how did they get him on board with this approach?
Well, instead of incentivizing him with commissions right away, Norm had Bobby and Helene give Stephen a hands-on lesson in business finance. They had him track sales and gross margins by customer using a simple spreadsheet.
Oh, wow.
It's a technique that Norm himself used when he was starting out.
So it's about learning by doing, getting your hands dirty with the numbers.
Exactly. And it took some time, but eventually Stephen started to see the connection between sales, costs, and profitability. He began to understand why focusing on those high-margin products and customers was so crucial for the long-term success of the business.
And how did his sales performance change once he had that understanding?
Oh, once that, light bulb went off, his sales actually improved. He was hitting his targets consistently, proving that he was becoming a valuable asset to Datalink. But of course, this success presented a new challenge. How do you keep him motivated and engaged as the business continues to grow and evolve?
It's like that, what got you here won't get you there scenario.
Exactly. And Bobby and Helene's instinct was to introduce a commission structure, and incentivize him to exceed those sales targets. But Norm, ever the voice of reason, urged caution with that approach.
What were his concerns about using a commission structure?
Well, he argued that while commissions can certainly be motivating, they can also have some unintended consequences, especially within a family business. He pointed out that it could create a sense of competition, right, rather than collaboration, potentially leading to conflict and resentment.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like you're pitting family members against each other.
Exactly. And Norm also highlighted the risk of Stephen prioritizing his own financial gain over the best interests of the business as a whole. What if he was faced with a choice between closing a high margin deal that didn't contribute to his commission target and pursuing a lower margin sale that would boost his personal earnings?
So he might make decisions that benefit him personally, but actually hurt the business in the long run.
Precisely. It's a subtle but really crucial point about how compensation structures can actually influence behavior and decision making.
So what did Norm recommend instead of a commission structure?
He advocated for a more holistic approach where Stephen's compensation was tied to his overall contribution to the company, not just those individual sales numbers. So he suggested, annual salary adjustments based on performance coupled with potential bonuses for, exceptional achievements that benefit the entire company.
So it's about creating a compensation system that rewards both individual performance and the collective success of the team.
Exactly. It fosters a sense of shared purpose and encourages everyone to work together toward a common goal, which, as you recall, is a key element of building that strong company culture.
Right, right. Okay, so Steven's on board, contributing to the business. But now Datalink is facing another kind of turning point, the rise of e-commerce and this need to establish an online presence. I imagine that was a big shift for a business that had always operated in that, traditional brick and mortar way.
It was a huge shift. And their experience really provides, some valuable insights for any business kind of navigating this world of digital transformation, which is, pretty much every business these days. Initially, Bobby and Helene were actually quite hesitant to invest in a website. They saw it as an unnecessary expense. But Norm, always attuned to those, market shifts, he pushed them to embrace the potential of online sales.
So what were his arguments for going digital?
Well, he pointed out that a website could significantly expand their reach beyond their local customer base.
Yeah.
They could tap into a whole new market of buyers, particularly those younger, more tech-savvy customers who are increasingly comfortable making purchases online.
So it wasn't just about, keeping up with the times. It was about opening up those new avenues for growth.
Exactly. And he was right. The launch of their website, datalink.com,
Yeah.
had a huge impact on their business.
What were some of the key benefits that they saw from going online?
Well, first of all, it gave them access to that wider market, allowing them to attract customers they would never have reached before. They could offer a broader range of products without the constraints of, physical shelf space.
Right.
It also streamlined their ordering process, right, reducing the need for all those time-consuming phone calls and manual order processing. But perhaps most importantly, it provided them with valuable data about their customers' preferences and buying habits.
Data is king, as they say.
Right. They could track which products were selling well online, identify emerging trends, and even personalize their marketing messages based on, customer browsing behavior.
It's amazing how much insight you can gain from that kind of data. It allows you to make more informed decisions about everything from inventory management to marketing strategy.
Absolutely. It's a powerful example of how embracing technology can not only expand your market, but also equip you with the tools to make smarter business decisions.
Sounds like a win-win. But even with the success of their online venture, Bobby and Helene, they hit a snag.
We did.
They encountered the significant drop in their monthly sales, a slump that lasted for several months. It's a reminder that even when you're doing things right, those unexpected challenges can still arise.
It certainly is. And this downturn prompted them to seek Norm's advice once again.
Okay.
Which emphasizes the importance of, constantly monitoring those key performance indicators and being able to recognize when something's amiss.
Right.
Complacency can be a real danger, even when things seem to be going well.
So what was puzzling them about this particular sales slump?
Well, they were especially concerned about the disappearance of their special sales, those high volume, low margin deals that had become a reliable source of revenue for them. In recent years.
Right. I remember Norm wasn't initially keen on those kinds of deals when Datalink was smaller and focused on building their core business. But as they grew and became more operationally efficient, those special sales actually became a profitable addition to the revenue stream.
Right.
So why was the sudden drop in those sales such a red flag?
Well, it signaled a potential shift in the market or a change in customer behavior. Something wasn't adding up. So Norm, being the data-driven guy that he is, he urged them to take a closer look at the numbers and see if they could spot any patterns or clues that could explain this decline. His mantra is always, get the facts, don't speculate.
That's such a great point. I think as entrepreneurs, it's easy to get caught up in our own assumptions and interpretations rather than just looking at that raw data. So what did they find when they dug deeper?
Well, their analysis revealed that the decline in special sales was primarily being driven by a decrease in large orders from businesses. It turned out that many of their business customers had shifted their buying behavior. Instead of stocking up on large quantities of products, they were ordering smaller amounts more frequently and often opting to make those purchases online.
That's interesting. Do you think this change in buying behavior was specific to Datalink's customers, or was it a more widespread trend in the market?
It was actually a reflection of a much larger trend. Several factors were contributing to this shift, including the rise of e-commerce, the increasing availability of next day or even same day delivery options, and a growing preference for just-in-time inventory management. Businesses were becoming much more cautious about tying up their capital in large inventory purchases. They preferred to order only what they needed, precisely when they needed it, to minimize their storage costs and risk.
That makes a lot of sense. So essentially, Datalink's business model, which had been so successful for them in the past, was starting to become kind of outdated. They had to adapt or risk being left behind.
Exactly. They needed to pivot their strategy to align with these new market dynamics.
What specific steps did they take to adapt?
Well, first, they had to reassess their pricing and ensure that they were competitive, especially for those smaller, more frequent orders. Second, they needed to prioritize fast turnaround times, particularly for online purchases. Customers had grown accustomed to the speed and convenience of online shopping, and Datalink needed to match that level of service.
So they had to become more agile and responsive to customer demands.
Precisely. They also had to rethink their marketing approach. Instead of focusing on attracting those large bulk orders, they had to craft messaging that highlighted the benefits of their online ordering system, emphasizing the convenience and cost effectiveness of ordering smaller quantities on demand.
It sounds like a pretty complete overhaul of their sales and marketing strategies was necessary. Did these changes have the desired effect?
They did. By embracing these new trends and adapting their approach, Datalink was able to regain their footing and continue to thrive in this evolving market. It's a great example of how even established businesses need to stay vigilant, monitor customer behavior, and be willing to adjust their strategies to stay ahead of the curve.
It's a great reminder that success in business is not about finding a magic formula and sticking with it forever. It's about constant evolution and adaptation. Now, we've talked a lot about the practical, strategic side of business, but Norm also places a lot of emphasis on the importance of passion and enthusiasm. He talks about how his own excitement for his for his record storage business, Cita Storage, was actually a key factor in his success.
Right. He loves what he does, even if it might seem a little bit dull to some. He genuinely finds joy in the business of storing boxes on shelves, and that passion kind of shines through in everything he does.
It's fascinating how that energy can translate into success. How does he explain that connection?
He believes that your passion is contagious. It inspires your employees, it resonates with your customers, and ultimately it drives your business forward. If you don't genuinely care about your business, it will show, and it'll impact every aspect of your operation.
That makes a lot of sense. People can sense when someone is truly invested in what they're doing, and that authenticity builds trust and loyalty.
Exactly. When you're passionate about your work, it's no longer just a job. It's a mission, a calling, and that makes all the difference.
It seems that Norm's own, his own enthusiasm for entrepreneurship is kind of woven throughout Street Smarts. It's not just a dry textbook filled with business jargon. It's a testament to the power of entrepreneurial spirit and that belief that anyone with the right mindset and approach can build a business that thrives.
Absolutely. He wants to see other entrepreneurs succeed, and he shares his hard-won wisdom, generously offering practical advice and encouragement every step of the way.
Okay. As we head into the final part of our deep dive into Street Smarts, we're going to explore Norm's insights on managing employees, navigating those sometimes tricky negotiations, and the crucial role of continuous learning in today's rapidly changing business world. We'll also revisit some of his core principles and distill those key takeaways that you can apply to your own journey as an entrepreneur. Stay tuned for part 3.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
So in the previous parts, we've really dug into Norm Brodsky's Street Smarts, covering everything from the fundamentals like gross margin, navigating competitors, to things like company culture and adapting to the world of online sales.
Yeah, and one of the things that really stands out, throughout the book is this emphasis on continuous learning, being adaptable, and being willing to challenge those conventional ways of thinking. Norm constantly reminds us that building a successful business is a journey; it's not a destination.
He's all about that growth mindset, embracing the fact that we're always learning, we're always evolving.
Exactly. It's a process of, constantly seeking out new information, testing different approaches, refining your strategies based on real world experience, not just, textbook theories.
And he even shares those times where he kind of misstepped and what he learned from it.
Right.
He emphasizes that mistakes are an inevitable part of being an entrepreneur.
Oh, absolutely. He's very open about the fact that he's made plenty of mistakes along the way, and he encourages entrepreneurs to view those mistakes not as failures, but as valuable learning opportunities.
Now, one of Norm's most insightful and perhaps controversial principles is his stance on not doing business with friends. It's a rule that I think a lot of people struggle with, especially when you're in those early days of starting a business, when your network is often your biggest asset.
He acknowledges that it can be tempting to want to help out friends, especially when you're just starting out, right? But he cautions against the potential pitfalls of blurring the lines between those personal and professional relationships.
Yeah, he tells some pretty vivid stories about how those situations can kind of go south, often due to those unspoken expectations and assumptions. He even goes as far as to say that you can't truly be friends with your employees no matter how much you like and respect them. That's a pretty bold statement.
It is.
Yeah.
But his point is that the power dynamic that's inherent in that employer-employee relationship makes genuine friendship incredibly difficult to navigate. It's not impossible, but it requires a very high level of self-awareness and careful boundary setting.
So it's not about being cold or distant with your employees. It's about recognizing those inherent complexities of the relationship and acting accordingly.
Exactly. And this principle of clear boundaries extends to his approach to hiring and building a strong team. He stresses the importance of finding the right people for the job, people who share your values, are passionate about the work, and are willing to put in the effort to learn and grow.
But once you've found those talented individuals, he also emphasizes the importance of treating them well, creating a positive work environment, and empowering them to make decisions and take ownership of their roles.
He's a big believer in creating a culture of transparency, where employees are kept informed about the company's performance, both the good and the bad.
Right. And that transparency fosters trust and allows employees to feel like they're truly part of the team, invested in the company's success.
It's about creating that sense of shared ownership.
Absolutely.
And this kind of ties into Norm's belief in the importance of giving back to the community. He encourages businesses to find ways to support local causes or charities or organizations that align with their values.
He sees it as part of being a responsible business, recognizing that you have a role to play in making the world a better place. It's not just about profit, it's about making a positive impact.
And those efforts to give back often have this ripple effect, right? Strengthening the company's reputation, building goodwill with customers and employees alike.
Exactly. It creates a kind of a virtuous cycle where doing good leads to more good.
Now, as we wrap up our exploration of street smarts, I want to circle back to one of Norm's most powerful and enduring lessons, and that's the importance of adaptability. He constantly reminds us that the business world is in a state of constant flux, and those who can adjust to new challenges, embrace change, and constantly seek out new opportunities, they're the ones who will ultimately thrive.
He's a master of pivoting and adjusting course when needed. And he encourages entrepreneurs to cultivate that mindset of continuous learning. Always seeking out new information, experimenting with different approaches, refining their strategies based on real world feedback.
It's about being open to new possibilities, embracing those challenges as opportunities for growth, and never assuming that you have all the answers.
Right. And he also stresses the importance of surrounding yourself with smart, capable people who can challenge your assumptions, offer diverse perspectives, and help you navigate the complexities of the business world.
He's a firm believer in the power of mentorship and collaboration.
Absolutely. He recognizes that no one succeeds in isolation. Building a successful business requires a strong network of support.
Well, as we conclude our deep dive into street smarts, I want to leave you with this thought-provoking question from Norm. If he were to start a business today in our rapidly evolving digital landscape, what would he do differently? What new challenges and opportunities would he prioritize? It's something to consider as you continue on your own entrepreneurial journey. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. We hope you've gained some valuable insights from Norm Brodsky's street smarts, and that his hard-won wisdom will guide you on your own journey to building a successful and fulfilling business.